Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I just wanted to notice as well. Should have went out there.
I'm okay. I would move to approve minutes of Wednesday, April 3rd, as presented.
I'll second it. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Can we go ahead and canvass it?
Yes.
Make a motion to canvass the votes.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's a pretty small one.
Wait, it looks like they were 6.5%.
Yeah, I read the paperwork, the lowest turnout, 6%, something like that.
Not many. This is a provisional. This is just an abstract.
So 20 provisionals total.
$810 actual, that was the mail outs and everything, but, 740 of that were ran through the machine, 20 of them were provisional, 20 are provisional, and then 50 were not returned, that was mail ballot one. So, but 810 was actually, so that's quite, not very good for 10,000 people. That's just a breakdown of how many went to each polling place and what was ran through the machine and provisional. These are not returned, those are just the mail ballot ones. And this is all of that. these are ones that are in our county, but so that are different, have a different school district.
Library 5 provision, recommended. This one here too.
This one, there was one that, that one, instead of bringing me to pull my light.
Seems like this first year is probably not that much turned out, I mean.
No, we can count, and we can count it. We just count whatever it is. We got precinct, the census in the city, that is it. The same people living in the city, so.
Motion to, check the initials.
I move we count the 6 provisionals as recommended.
Second? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anything else is okay?
Okay, motion to
Move we
come out of canvas.
move we come out of canvassing to vote.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
We got plenty more chairs to fill. We have plenty of chairs to fill.
Matt, you have something?
Creekson and Cherokee, not really good. I guess, need to figure out and see how you wanna proceed. We can either pay Cook Flat more money to do more plans and we're still not guaranteed the permit, or we can just bite the bullet and buy another culvert and apply for a general permit and just put in 2 culverts. The other culvert's gonna be $5,200 for another culvert. So it's gonna cost us probably another $2,000 or $3,000 in engineering. We're still not guaranteed the permit.
Ed gave me the impression we didn't need them in here to draw the plan.
That's
I think
what,
all they really wanna know is how you're gonna funnel, if you're changing, and they've got, that's not even a stream.
I know.
That's a ditch.
Yeah.
And that's what is really keeping me off now,
Yeah.
is that it's only a bridge across a ditch. It's not even a stream, because that, what they was concerned about is the flow of water for fish, upstream or downstream, well, there's no fish in there.
Right.
I mean, it's just a ditch.
yeah, 1 8-foot culvert in rolling country should drain 800 acres. And this whole thing is only 485 acres, and 380 of these acres
are controlled by a watershed dam. There's only 105 acres going through this hole.
So they're the ones that we had to put another two, so we got enough inches of frontage.
If we would put another culvert in there, I could just apply for a general permit, and it's about, I think, 7-day process or something like that.
What
Well, we have
got
to-
is, I talked to this guy, and he's a nice guy, he said if we just apply, because this is a special deal, because the 8-foot tube didn't meet their standard. Their first standard is that opening of the existing bridge, what you put back in has to be within 1 square foot. Well, it's close to 100, it's 90 square feet or something like that. Well, 2 8-foot tubes will get you 100 square feet, so it easily does it. That's a week, and you don't have to go through all these 7 agencies.
They just go ahead and resubmit it, do that.
Well, I think it's gonna cost us another $100.
Yeah.
But I mean, basically, he said he thinks it's a slam, and that would be a slam dunk, because they don't have to check which way the fish are flowing.
Right. And it's,
Are there any
I'm just
fish
so
in that?
frustrated, no.
I was confused
I'm
by
so
the
frustrated.
It's a ditch.
Well, that's what I thought too. I was confused by the
Yeah, it's-
environmental analysis. Okay.
Until last night, it was a dry ditch. Might still be, I don't know.
Well, I'm guessing if we all drain away from it, I mean, it just takes the runoff of, there's a little bit off that section on the north side of the road that does drain, comes down through there, but then the rest of it is that half section, so it's, drains, which
I'll
the
just-
watershed down.
I'm so frustrated, we could have this fixed, you know,
My
4
opinion,
months ago.
my opinion is go ahead and do the extra $100, get the permit, get the tube, get it in, get it done.
I think that's the only route, because you're in the system now, I mean, so.
I've got a PO here for $100 to, get a check cut for $100 to Kansas Department of Agriculture.
In the meantime, we are gonna be working on that.
What's that?
We're gonna work on our legislative about easing those regulations. If KDOT's not gonna come up with as much money in the past to help the bridges, then we have to have a little more sensible, common sense approach to replace these bridges too.
Right.
I'd get ready come Saturday, and then I had unexpected visitors, to talk to them on it.
Yeah, we have to,
Did you? Who all, them?
Jerry,
Jerry.
I mean, as far as legislative, yeah. Jerry be up here today, Jerry, he'll be up here.
Kansas Department of Agriculture. And that's just a permit?
Yeah, general waterway obstruction permit. The other thing I had, we had talked about briefly, I'm applying for a household hazardous waste permit to move our facility out to the transfer station. And to apply for the grant and the permit, I need a commissioner to sign a household hazardous waste facility certification saying that the facility would be consistent with the waste management plan, and also that the facility area is compatible with the surrounding land use, which is what it is, because we are a unzoned county, and it's right next to the transfer station.
You're still on task to get that building there,
Yeah.
to get that, okay. Where we
That's
at?
what, this is part of that.
Yeah, where are we at in terms of, have you got any data collected, because we gotta build.
As far as
we gotta build
the
retaining.
price, I talked with KDHE, and we shot pretty high on Spectrum. I'm applying for $28,000, but already of that, already our part of that, there's $5,000 off of our part on in-kind labor. Our share of the $28,000 will be $11,200, But, like I said, 5,000 of that would be knocked off the top in labor.
I guess maybe the more direct question, are we on time schedule so that we can get that completed?
Yeah,
Or can you get,
Yeah.
didn't you say you could possibly get a 30-day extension?
Yeah, they said that they would work with us. KDHE, two of their representatives came, actually three of them came up Friday and sat down with me and helped me fill out the grant papers and the permit papers to get this all taken care of. So they're working directly with me and didn't see any problem.
So it's kind of like the timeline as far as,
June, it's June 30th, it has to be completed by June 30th.
but as far as like moving it out to the transfer station.
Yeah, as long as I can't do anything until I get the grant and the permit,
Sure.
I'm gonna send this right in
Yeah.
today. And, as soon as they get this paperwork, they're gonna get a hold of me and, we might even be able to start some construction before we even get the actual permit. So, like I said, we're working together and,
I think under the circumstance, Mr. Chairman, I move we authorize the chairman to sign the hazardous waste facility certification.
Have a second? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
What happens if you don't get it done?
but we really didn't, talk about that. They just told me they would work with me on the deadline, so.
I don't think.
I don't think it's set in stone.
Yeah, I don't think there's that much construction, basically, if we go with one of those buildings like we, that prefab thing.
But they weren't they like 6 weeks, to be 6 weeks out?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to act on that real quick, so.
You know, you just need to make it, pin them down, don't you?
Guaranteed date.
And then we just get ready, because it would take that long to put it ahead.
Like you said, you can start, some of that you can start. Process going.
Did you come up with anything, you got any questions?
No, that's all I had.
Did you check the tubes down, grid or second grid?
Yeah, we already installed a new culvert in there. It's taken care of.
On the east side?
Yes.
Because I think the west side should be fine.
Yeah, I called, Dig Safe and, it was a little tight going around that corner. We added, 10 foot onto, we ended up putting a new culvert in there because it was an over culvert. And, it should be taken care of.
How big is it? How big is it? Is that a 2 foot or 3 foot culvert?
I believe it was 2 foot. Yeah, it wasn't, yeah.
That's good.
The low boy situation, I'm still waiting on Dean from Foley's to get back a hold of me. We didn't go look at it because, they called the person that owned the trailer, told them that they had a buyer, and now he's not sure if he wants to move on the deal, so. So I'm still working on it, he told me he might know something by the end of this week. I'm still looking around, just in case the deal falls through, but kind of a waiting pattern right now.
Yeah. Thanks, sir. Jack, what do you have for us?
Talked to Foster Ford. Their vehicle.
I have more stuff to do.
The comparison of the two trucks, so that's the,
About 15 minutes old.
you what?
That's about 15 minutes old. He found a truck that he had there tomorrow. Yeah, your eyes gonna be better than mine too. It's basically pretty well equipped, and it doesn't have fancy wheels, which is okay, but it's equipped better than what he was going to get on a basic truck. It has full package, that's really forward. He could save, if he ordered, he would save $17,000. But,
If we order that,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if we order, we got to be through
yeah.
quote and everything.
Yeah.
It's gonna be,
Well, he said to him, he couldn't guarantee that.
they told us another thing here 4 weeks on.
I know.
Yeah.
Just, he said he found one, like he did this one here, the guy didn't want to trade him out, so he said, we couldn't get the discount on the advertising money, that's why it's so higher, otherwise we could save him $1,000. But, that's what he just shot me a lot.
I think there's some value of buying local, and I think there's some value of not buying the quality of Northwest, because pretty soon we're gonna ideas and that
That's I can't see what this vehicle compares to. Pretty fun.
What was the price of?
$28,898. The only, I mean, another, like I said, I don't mind either way, but without being able to compare the specs to, I don't really care what for, you know, service or anything like that, it's, you know, right here, but either way, it's.
Well, when we got time, I think you can get him, because when he sent that to me, I couldn't believe that print was that small, but I think we can get a larger copy where you can understand it and stuff. What was the list value on the Chevrolet?
List value. Oh, right here. 37,626.
Okay, the list on this is 37 something, I can read it. So I'm gonna guess they're pretty well sound equipped. Did that Chevrolet have a tow package on it?
Tow package.
Running boards? I think this one also had fog lights on it. So I think the problem, I mean, if there's any doubt, don't be afraid to check with him, because, knowing what he told me, if he can get away tomorrow, he'll be there tomorrow.
Resale of Chevy won't hire it. That's the only, that would be another. Scottish one, so.
He wants to.
I don't care if I'm not driving, so. I mean, just being safe.
You mentioned once before, you're 2 deputies short. How many, one deputy short, okay, how many vehicles are we short to cover deputies?
Right now, we got one that's gonna go to the academy 2 weeks, and we got one that's in training, he's riding along, so.
I guess my question is, we haven't got enough vehicles,
We need to sign up.
and you're one short, you may hold on to the last hire till we.
No, we'll be okay. I'm not gonna hire it, I'll spec standard. But we'll be okay with that even if we got rid of the car, as well, one of the two things.
I think it's Ford.
So now where do I go? My first, what I prefer, or? Can I hold the audience, can we look like that one show, or?
Yeah.
Get hold the audience here? What we're discussing here is a new pickup for the sheriff. I just give you information, I don't have to vote. Chevrolet out here at Lewis is close, as we service. The Ford is like $600 cheaper, it comes from, Holton. Personally, I'm partial to Ford, but this is not my vehicle, so.
I'm not kicking the major on $600, just the idea we don't want to, you get 10% leeway, but $600 is $600.
Well, I should say 10%.
Oh, I know that leaves you on a $2,700 vehicle, that leaves you $2,700 leeway.
No, I meant like if it's within 10%.
That's what I'm saying, but the local bid 10% higher, and you would be, that would cost you $2,700 more. So, I mean, I drive a Chevy and a Ford, both, I just go to Ford, so I just want to give it a shot, see what it's called.
Well, whatever, your vehicle, you're responsible for it, so.
Well, I wasn't prepared to get one thrown at me at the last minute, so I don't, I would have to go see what they compare, to see what the better option is. I mean, you can pull up any five-year-old pickups from a Chevy and a Ford, and Chevy's gonna have a higher resale value. But,
See heads shaking out there?
Well, just, I
That's
mean,
just what I
we'll take action on it today, I mean, just, because I can't read it either. If you get him to send you a bigger copy so you can compare apples to apples, if there's something that's just bothering, well, I'll support that, otherwise, I like this proposal. I mean, I know we could save $1,700 if we had time to order it, we didn't have time to order it, so. Their program actually lasts until September.
right, I mean, I get.
Chevy's done,
Well,
except what they done a lot,
I guess I'll say, get a list that you can read, and if they're comparable, I'd go with the Ford, save $600, and it'll be a bigger difference.
Phyllis is on the agenda, 10:45.
Those, I think we're ahead of schedule, so if you would like to go now.
I got here sooner. You know, I gotta recover from the steps a little while, kind of show my exercise habits. Okay, I just brought you something to look at. The good news is I don't have a complaint, I'm here for some expert assistance.
We're too close, you have to be 60 miles away from the expert.
And basically, the gist of what I have came to inquire about is, Kent and I both know that, the county is obviously not zoned, which pretty much means people can do whatever they want, but it came to our attention probably about 3 years ago that our neighbors were looking to put a cell phone tower on their ground. The lady that lives next to us is Mrs. Sylvester. Wants And she basically has a house on an acre there, and we have a house on the acre next to her. And I know Mike knows where I live, I don't know if the other two of you do or not, but, basically there's two brick houses together out on Highway 59 with a dirt road in between. And, I know a surveyor has been back out there again, because this started about 3 years ago when there were surveyors out there and pretty much did some core drillings that looked like, some markings fairly close to the property line behind her house, which would basically put a cell phone tower behind our house and more behind hers, I guess, but pretty equally close to both of them. And, nothing has been said for 3 years, so I thought it kind of died over, but as you can see, a lease has now been signed, and they have been calling about getting utilities hooked up and, getting the road gravelled. And obviously, that is a township road, so, I'm pretty sure the township is not going to gravel it for a cell phone tower to come in there, but, I guess my question is, I'm kind of looking for, and I guess maybe it's a question for Pat, because I'm pretty sure this probably isn't the first time you've had this problem in the county.
No, it's not. It's not the first time the question's come up.
But, and I'm sure it's probably gonna be an ongoing problem, because magazines and everything else are running through electronics now. So I just wondered if you have any suggestions. We have not seen any markings actually laid out again as to where they're going to put the tower, but, my daughter's boyfriend's an attorney that used to do contracts for the cell phone companies and for Sprint, and he said they typically like to get in a corner because they're close to a road and they're close to utilities. And that's pretty much where they had it marked out the last time, but I just wondered if you have any thoughts on.
Well, you're absolutely right. We do not have zoning, and whenever the Z word gets mentioned, I'm not even allowed to say the whole word. Whenever that gets mentioned, there's a lot of concern about people not wanting to have restrictions on land use. And then when somebody decides they want to put in a racetrack or a quarry or a cell phone tower, the neighbors are all looking at the county, aren't you going to do anything to help me? So it's really a political decision that needs to be made, or if there's going to be a change anyway, that it needs to come from the grassroots to tell the commission we want to have some sort of zoning in our county, or we don't want to have some sort of zoning in our county. But as things stand right now, there's nothing the county has to approve or anything that the county could do to disapprove the placement of the cell phone tower.
Well, how, this was done in, how certain are you that they're ready to move? Because I'll just tell you personal experience, we're supposed to have a tower right south of our house 8 years ago. It ain't up yet. And they've been out 2 or 3 times to survey, and yeah, we're gonna do it, and they've never showed up. Bill, you've had the same thing.
I've had one.
And it's Verizon.
Well, I think they're really gearing up to do something this time, because it was 3 years ago when the first hint that we had of it, because like Pat's saying there, because the county's not zoned, they can come and pretty much do whatever they want, and they don't have to inform anybody that they're gonna do anything. But we started to see flags appearing in our front yard, and I was thinking maybe the state, because a lot of that's the state right away, was going to come in and actually widen, because there's been talk years ago of a 4-lane highway all the way to Topeka. But the next morning I get up and there's 5 people in my front yard roaming around, and they had told me then they were looking to surveying to put a cell phone tower in that mile. And like I said, after that, they had it flagged out in great detail right where it was going to be. Well, the economy really turned down after that, and one of the people involved in it passed away. And so I thought maybe it had kind of died down for a while, but it's been within the last 2 weeks that the surveyors have been back out there again, and they did knock on Mrs. Vine's door and tell her that they were going to go out behind her house and ask her if she owned that property, and she said no, but she did tell them that she really didn't want a cell phone tower in her backyard, and And the man that came said he agreed with her on that, so that he wouldn't. So that kind of tips me off. They're looking to go right back where they had it all laid out before. And it was just, about a week ago that they called about getting the roads worked on there for them. Well, obviously, it's not a county road, so the county's not gonna work on it, but I did talk to someone on that township board, and they said they have no interest in fixing the road up for a cell phone company either, because no one lives on that road at all. But what will happen if the cell phone company goes in and works on the road, it's paved into our driveway, but after that, it becomes a dirt road, and I imagine they would rock it just far enough for them to get in there to their tower, and then everybody would be stuck after that, but,
How far is this off the property line, or your property, roughly?
It's not too far, it's, I don't know how many feet, it's not far.
it's probably the neighbor lady's house, which she would have liked to have come today, but she's in her late 80s and not in very good health, so she said for me to give her a report when I got back, but the two houses, her house sits more in the center of her 1 acre, and ours sits more towards the north end of our property, so it kind of puts where they're gonna put the tower kind of halfway in between her house and ours and just back. And it's really, they have came in there and actually plowed up all the markings and stuff that they had there before and put in a lot of new terraces. So I had high hopes that it had all gone away, but because it's kind of downhill there, I think they'll probably have to put in a pretty tall tower because they gotta to get back up from there. But there's a nice level place on the other side of the house that actually has highway access there. I guess technically, there's other places on that 160 acres where they could put a tower that wasn't right up against the houses. But I haven't attempted any contact with the cell phone company or anything, because I was hoping it had all gone right after the last time, but I just wondered if you guys had, or if Pat had any opinions on what we could potentially do if we want to find the tower going there.
Well, that's two different questions. As far as the county is concerned, we don't have any restriction on the land use, so if they want to put in a cell phone tower, they may do so. You've asked another question, which is really seeking legal advice about what can you do, and you need to talk to your attorney about that.
I guess I was just asking you as the county counselor, because I'm pretty sure this is going to become a more common issue as more towers try to
Seems like the frequency
Yes.
has picked up in the last 12 to 24 months, I mean, it's not just cell phone towers. I mean, Pat alluded to several other issues where it's will come into play, whether it's potential landfill and quarry, a cell phone tower, and without any restrictions in place, as us, the county, is not necessarily what we can do with that at this point.
I would suggest to you, meet with this landowner and to meet with Verizon and see if you can't work out something. But other than that, they're not going to.
And we have consulted an attorney, and he told me the first thing to do was to bring it to the commission. I have no idea why. Pat probably knows why, but.
Well, I think the suggestion would be to ask them, do you want to adopt countywide zoning? And that's probably a bigger discussion than we want to have today. But, and your attorney may not have known whether or not we actually should have zoning.
Yeah, he knows it now.
Well, even if we did, that would be, I mean, timeframe would be.
Yeah, it'd be retroactive. I mean,
Yeah.
we couldn't make it retroactive.
Correct.
As far as that goes. Yeah, we have it on, there's a Wi-Fi tower that we put in just west of the Y after Scoop. You know how high it is out there, Scoop.
Yeah.
That's the price. One time when they set up the 911, they wanted to come out to our place and actually put one of the signals on top of our sidewalk. That's as high as you can get in the whole county, as high as it is out there. But this Wi-Fi, there's people that climb that tower and have to have that radiation card, tells them they flying. So they're admitting that there's radiation coming off there, and we can't even stop that right now.
Well, the next time if I come back, I have a bad radiation burn, you'll know the tower was empty on my house. So, well, I appreciate your time, and I hope that this doesn't become an ongoing problem for everybody, because I really, when we bought that house, never even thought about anything like this ever happening, because I mean, that was, you guys know, if all of a sudden you came home and something's being built in your backyard, it's like, oh, because obviously the person that's leasing in the ground is gonna make pretty good money off of leasing in that space for the tower for a while.
Well, let's just hope they're as responsible they are to us. I mean, it'll be another 8 years before we don't even know that they're gonna do anything now, because it's 3 years ago. We started the process, and the company decided not to do it, so we had to restart the process, and 4 years later, it's been almost 3-4 years since we went through the process. We had flags, they surveyed, we even was ready for them to come out and make the new engines, and it was, we had, my nephew planted around this area, so we didn't even get farmers.
Same way in my case, they come out there and they act like they were gonna start the next day, and
Now, let's hope this is the
Yes.
case, because they're wanting the road rocked and, the utilities hooked up. I'm doubting it is, but I hope you're right. It's been almost 3 years already, so.
they went so far on mine as to see if they get an easement off the state highway, and see if they get the rural electric hookup.
Yeah, just don't make a lot of sense. You guys aren't one of the highest points in that area by any means. I could think around the corner a little way, there's a couple places where there's a bunch of trees that, you know, we could take it out of wasteland. Right, people?
And because
What's, as far as like your concerns, like what would be like some of your biggest
Well,
concerns?
probably my biggest concern is nobody's gonna wanna buy my house. I mean, you know, when we bought that house, we paid a fairly good price for it. We put quite a bit of money into it since then, and that's probably, well, of course, there's always health concerns, but as Pat knows, they're not gonna, that would never stand up in court, because you're just guessing that you might get cancer or something from the tower. But I know it would depreciate the value of both of our houses, because obviously, nobody wants to live right by a cell phone tower. And you can't really see it from the highway, but we have a great big deck all the way across the back of our house, so now we get it, after the tower goes up, we'll have a nice view of the tower over there, so. But that's our major concern, is really just losing value of our house and the health concerns of it. Because I know, like Mike mentioned, we've done some reading up on the radioactivity that comes off of it, and they've done studies on children that live close to towers, and the leukemia incidence is twice as high for children that are close to towers as ours.
like I said, I would contact Verizon and see if they're willing to work with it. I mean, they might be able to move it.
And as you can see by the lease, they have the right to go anywhere on that property, but the right-of-ways that have already, or the easements that are already on it. But, doesn't hurt to try, I guess. I don't want them to speed it up because they think that we're gonna try to fight them on it, but, it's pretty muddy now, so I don't think they could get in there if they wanted to. But, well, hey, thank you for your time.
If you would happen to find a bald eagle's nest close by, turn it off, I can guarantee you.
Maybe I'll have to find one.
Because then they gotta go through wildlife and parks, and that will be for heaven's sake.
I like it, Mike. If you see one, let me know.
I just said if, I didn't say when you put one there, I said if you find one.
Mary, if you make that quote, make sure you say Mike Bowden.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bowden.
And I said, if you find one.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Phyllis, do you need me to talk?
Phyllis, do you need these back?
Oh, no.
Okay.
PBD
Director, Mr. Willis. Jim's the first two.
Brick house,
Yeah.
they're together. I know it's a small brick.
No, not just, yeah, yeah, the PVD.
Tower right in, so it's behind it, and we're like, behind the
Oh, yeah, there's a intersection. We're just waiting for the, I assume everybody's here for PVD director and appraiser. Is anybody here for anything else besides that? So, as soon as they get here, we will get going. Yeah. Any topics to discuss? Questions? Just quiet for now.
I might add that once the guy gets up here, that we be considerate and don't all talk at once and try to have a civil meeting. I understand your concerns, but just try to keep it to where we don't get hollered and screamed. You need to get this to the names, Paul.
I think I'm just gonna get some chairs.
Are you ready for us?
Yes.
Just introduce yourself.
been working there since about 94 or so. Appreciate you inviting us up here, see what we can come up with. We're listening, we thank you for listening.
Need to have him speak up.
Can't hear him back there. Can't hear you.
System doesn't work.
Is this one?
No, those are for recording for the court, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they worked for a long time.
My name is Zoe Gear, and I'm with the Kansas Department of Revenue as well. I am the supervisor, use value coordinator. So it's my responsibility to generate and send the ag values out to the county. So when the county says that soil type 1, 2, 3, 4 is a certain value, those values come from my office.
Then everybody knows Jim Lampy,
Most of it's been individually, yeah.
Roger, is Roger here to help support? This is Roger Denton, our GIS coordinator, he's also worked in the appraiser's office, but, okay. I don't know how you, if you want to start and give background or explanation, and then, we start having, questions, that might be the best route. Taking some direction from you, if that's okay. Jim?
Well, most of them's already received, well, they've all received their valuation notices, so most of the questions have been related to that. Of course, the agricultural use values, we all know, went up for our county. And the other classification is the other, that I took the tree areas into being market value $1,100 an acre, and that went out as an other classification on where the land was predominantly not agricultural use. That's what I did.
Okay. Okay. And from PBD perspective, I think there's a lot of questions I think from folks here as far as that change in valuation. I think it was, some sticker shock as far as trying to figure out it's a big move, and I think what we're trying to gather here, us as commissioners, obviously, we don't have authority, but we have a lot of concerned citizens about this change, and we just wanted to get some background, and we probably have some additional questions. So the folks were here last week, and there's additional folks here today that probably get some more information, see kind of where this is going. And probably maybe a few additional questions for you. So I don't know if you want to give a little bit input as far as ag values and some changes and use of ground, if you want to do that, or if we just want to go ahead and set some questions from people in the booth.
We talk about value increases overall, and then go into the other.
I think most of us understand. I took your class up there.
Well, it doesn't really matter.
I think what they're more concerned here is that why we're the only county in about 6 or 7 county areas that's implemented this to this extent. And I understand the ruling that happened down in Sumner, but most of this land that we're talking about didn't really qualify. It may qualify under O, but it's not really used for commercial recreation, which is basically what I consider the ruling that court case said. I mean, a lot of this land, you can't use it for anything else. I mean, one of my big concerns is that if we start using this, people are going to start clearing these trees, and these trees are a conservation of wildlife habitat. I really don't want to get any more bureaucracy involved, but if we have to get wildlife park and conservation involved in this, it might get a little ugly. I mean, I think we're, if it's truly a commercial piece of property as was being used for revenue purposes, then I can understand it. But in most of these cases, I think you're going to hear from these people, it doesn't even come close. I think our concern, and we've discussed this, I just should maybe start talking, but I think that there needs to be 3 or 4 classes in other, just there is in ag land usage. I think I talked to you on something the other day, and probably wasteland, there's very little land that we have that truly is wasteland. If it's a ditch, you can't grow nothing, you can't get across it, there's probably justification. But if it's a piece of parcel that can grow some trees, there's probably a little value to it. But if you're not harvesting trees, you're not making it into a safari, as I call it, because that automatically put it in the $1,100 range. We don't do that with ag land. We base it on how it's used, and that's how it's worked out. I just think it needs to be something that's both category to address that. And this drastic a jump this short period of time, I really think you guys need, from the state level, should give us some guidance, so that everybody's implementing it fairly, equally, gradually, or at least go back and look at it and see how we can make it a little fairer, and other counties start implementing. Our county, probably Doniphan, Leavenworth, we're gonna have a lot of this land, in proportion. And, so, I mean, you get to western Kansas, you don't have to worry about that. I'm also a little concerned, we've got a lot of little 1-2 acre parcels under the guidelines that fall under this. And some of them are in floodplains, they can't build nothing, they may not be able to get their cattle to it. Does that really have any value? I mean, I really think we need to take a little closer look at this rather than an aerial map and say, okay, here's so much. Wasteland. Somebody else? That's my concern. And I guess one of the other questions that I had is, and Jim, I think you tried, and maybe I misinterpreted you, is that a parcel of land, if it had more than 50% wasteland on it before, then that fell under the new category. If it only had 49%, it didn't. Is that true?
Yes.
That's pretty drastic. That's like putting your foot in cold water and one in warm water. I mean, that's a pretty fast transition. I'm not saying, you know, here's somebody could have 40 acres of land, 19 acres could be timber, and it's gonna be classified wasteland. And then the guy across the road has 40 acres, he's got 21 acres of timber now, he's got 21 acres of other. So his taxes are gonna go way up under this proposal. A gradual transition makes sense, but not a 49 to 51, that 2% variation. Now, I don't know, do you guys have those guidelines, or is that the discretion of the appraisers, or what?
The classification of property in the state of Kansas is has the authority of that. It's the county appraiser has the authority to make those classification calls. You know as well as I do that in land-loaded agriculture, there are basically two different classes of types of property. Crop, and we usually break that down as irrigated, non-irrigated. The other type is whatever's not crop, basically. We call that pasture rangeland in the state. Of course, those two have different ways we value that property. Net rental income from the landlord is the basis for the valuation of pasture rangeland. We don't, at the state level, we don't have the authority to classify property, but it is our job to value that, as Zoe said. And so, what we're going to do, as we have other counties that are doing this as well. You're not the only ones. You think, well, we're the only ones. Well, that's not true. And so, we have some counties that have been at this for 3 or 4 years now. It's been kind of an ongoing process in some of those counties. What we want to do is basically get together with some of the counties that are doing this currently, and Sumner is one of those. Atchison would be another. several different counties out in south central Kansas as well, and begin to look at and see what direction we want to go. We want to talk to the appraisers and kind of get a, if you will, as you talk to some, the hearings are over, basically, what are you hearing and what do we need to do as we go forward? That's where the director wants to go at this time. So I can tell you that the guidelines, if there are any that we need to readjust, we will do that at that time after we talk to the appraisers and go through this process. We realize that we need to do that fairly quick, so if there is any adjustment that needs to be done, it can be done before the May 15th, May 20th deadline coming up. So that's our objective, is to be sure that we are able to do that prior to those deadlines, and to have the appeals process all complete and wrapped up by May 20th. Basically, that's it, as far as we're talking about anyway, in the office of what we want to do at this time. So, but we're glad to listen, hear what's going on, and make us aware of some of the things that you're hearing, know about. I'm an old has-been farmer as well. I understand the problems that we're dealing with here. That's kind of why they called me in on this deal, because I do understand those things. So, we'll be glad to listen to some of the things that you want to talk about specifically for your county at this time.
I'd say at this time, we probably open it up to questions in the crowd. Like Commissioner Fold stated, everybody please remain civil. We're all here for questions and answers, trying to figure this out. I'd probably ask if you could limit your questions to, with the amount of people here and potential questions, limit to no more than 2 or 3 minutes at most. So I'd probably open the floor up to whoever wants to ask the first question.
I just got a question. Who are those other counties in south central Kansas?
We've got the ones that we're working with right now have been working over the period of time. Pratt, Kiowa, Barber, a little bit in Harbor. I'm from that area, so I kind of know about that, but that's the ones that have been working on it.
So basically, they're related back close to Sunder.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. They're all in that kind of the same region, yes.
Bordering to some degree.
Right, yes, correct.
Back to the question.
Could you, I forgot to ask, could you please just state your name before you start speaking? Just
Okay.
so we can all hear.
Charlie Purdue.
Thank you.
Now, the understanding that I've got, or I've been trying to pick up here on this deal, because I received a letter which I guess apparently at the last meeting was mentioned that there was no letter sent out. I have 2 letters, that one of them's addressed to the Purdue Farms LLC and the other one's addressed to me directly, which are dated July the 11th, 2012, both of them, one was July the 11th, 2012, the other one's dated July the 16th, 2012. And shortly after I received the letters, I was in the county treasurer's office changing some tags or titles. And I went in and talked to Mr. Lampy about this, and he sat down, we visited quite a while. And some of the property that I've got the dispute on is, and he told me that day, was property that left the south end of Atchison city limits, going south along the river bluff, down through there where it's on the bluff, which I'm involved with on the south end of the county. All right, I've got 3/4 of a mile down there, and he showed it as there's 121.30 acres in that tract. Well, I think there's 2 tracts put together that makes that. But anyway, 3/4 of a mile, and you're over approximately a little over a block and a half wide, the full distance, the bluff. Now, there's a township road right down dead center through it, and we run all the way to the railroad tracks at the bottom. From the bottom elevation of the bottom to the high point which runs across there, in which Mr. Pohl knows where I'm talking about, you're talking about 250, probably 200 to 250 feet of elevation change. And now they want to address this as farm ground. We used to have it fenced along the road, and we wouldn't even call it fenced today. It was some wire down there with steel posts. People would come down that bottom road and steal the steel post and then just cut the wire. Well, now when we build all the new fences in, we build up on top of the ridge. So all that down through there is nothing but waste. And I guarantee you that if any of you can go down there and walk up that hillside, deer do good to get up there. But now they want to classify this as farm ground. I just can't see. And like Mr. Lampy that day showed it as $2,750 valuation, and when I asked him about it, how much it was going to change, it was going to go to $68,020. And I asked him if there was any recourse to this, and he told me no. So I just want to know, how do you justify this? Now, you want to go with soil classification. Now, how do you classify that when there's probably rocks? All it is rock. If the quarries were open, part of it is an old quarry too. If the quarries were open, they would be extracting rock out down there maybe. But the way it is, this is absolutely nothing. But now, back to the Sumner County deal. Isn't it true that the majority of all these properties you're talking about in Sumner, Pratt, and everything, this is ground that's being leased for recreational, for hunting?
No, that's not the case.
How much is not?
I'm going to say the majority of it is not. What happened in this, let's go through that so that you kind of have an idea of what the Sumner County cases, there's two of them out there. One was the Moore ground and one was the Young ground. In these two cases, what the Court of Tax Appeals decided, these are cases where there was a certain amount of area of the property of this parcel, that you will, that was being cropped, and the other area in that parcel was not being used at all, was what the term was. The Court of Tax Appeals ruled and said that, well, listen, if that is actually not being used for anything, it cannot be land that's devoted to agriculture. And so the court, when they decided, based on their parcel, that they were using, allowing the county to use a mixed-use parcel on those cases where there was nothing going on that land. I don't know whether they got it right or not. They don't always get it right, but that's the ruling that came out of the Court of Tax Appeals. In other words, if that land's not, if there's no designated use for any agricultural purpose, then it's other, is what the court said. That was okay. And so that's where this is all coming. The court order was very specific. It said just because it's being used for hunting wasn't why they agreed that it should be other. It was because it had no use at all, it said.
So wait a minute here. What's going to happen if you're doing that on partial of land that you say is no use? What are you going to do with a parcel of land that is used, tax-wise? If you're wanting to make this ruling about the valuation of land. Okay, now they made the ruling that this is no use, right?
Right.
Okay, now, if that's the case and they want to make the evaluations or change the evaluation or the value of the land, what are you going to do about, if that's the case, what's going to happen to the land that is of use, that is farmable?
That's what I'm saying. They decided that it's okay to have mixed-use parcels, land devoted to agriculture, and if it's not land devoted to agriculture, that means it must be other, is what the court was saying. Okay?
I understand that, but you're not answering the question I'm asking you.
Okay?
It's
Help me out.
because the value. I'm talking about the dollar value.
Okay?
See, that's where I'm talking about,
All right.
on the other.
I think the question he's asking is, in this land that's determined as other,
Yes.
if it's the scenario that he gave, that's 250 feet straight up, and you couldn't get a billy goat to go up it, versus a tract of land that had timber on it that was valued as other. Other is a big word that means nothing.
Okay?
$10 an acre, $1,100 an acre. How would you determine in the word other, which value should that land be? His scenario, straight up and down, you couldn't farm anything on, versus an acre of land that had timber on it, that 50% was timber, but you could take the trees off and it would be farmland. Is that the question?
I'm with you now.
Okay, but yet you increase the valuation of that land that cannot be used for agriculture, you're talking about, because of its steepness. You've increased the value of that land, so we're going to pay higher taxes on that, and the ag land is going to stay the same. Is that correct?
No, right now we're just talking about the word other.
Yeah.
That's what the question is.
Well,
The word other, that has to, other needs to be redefined into some more categories, it looks like to me, that the state needs to change that into, you know.
We're gonna have to back up then.
Yeah, let's give a chance to respond.
There are 7 classifications of real property in the state of Kansas, and it's in the Kansas Constitution. We all voted for them back in '85. Those classifications are residential, real, ag land, land devoted to agriculture, vacant lot, not-for-profit, public utility, commercial, and other. Each one has a different valuation method. All of them they're all to be valued at market value in each one of those except for land devoted to agriculture, the second subclass. That's the ag use value that we talk about. They each one have a different assessment range. 11.5 for res, and ag land devoted to agriculture is 30%, and other is 30%. So there's no wiggle room about what we do. Once we classify it, that sets how we value it and how it's assessed. And so those two things are pretty well set in our Constitution. So any other has got to be valued at market value, and assessment rate is 30%. That's the killer, the assessment rate. Go ahead.
I would suggest that maybe you come up with some more ratios.
Pardon?
I would suggest that maybe you should come up with some more ratios.
More ratios?
Yeah, in other words, you said it falls under a category.
Yes.
Maybe we can invent some more categories, because it doesn't make sense. I'm a visual person, so I want to show you something,
Okay.
and I'm a stat man too. I want you to look at that right there. In literature that I read that on values that the state of Kansas had, it said that they use the word canopy.
Okay.
Okay. You look at that picture and you see whether you see any white anywhere in that. No, I want you to look at.
I got it.
The color area.
I see it.
See if you see any white area.
I don't see much.
No, okay. This comes from the USDA, and it says it's 28.5 acres of hay ground, right?
Okay.
Okay? This doesn't have anything, so let's go over and let's look at this one, and then I'll give you the stats. Okay, there's 62.38 acres of open ground, so let's talk about all this ground that's open.
Okay.
Out of the 160.5 acres, 57 acres. I'll talk to you about the 57 acres. Okay, the wasteland, and it's wasteland. I'm going to be 75 years old in July, so I know this ground pretty good. It's been in the family since 1894. I'm the 3rd generation, it's going on to the 4th generation.
Okay.
All right. On the ground, let's talk about the acreage. The reason that it's 160.57 acres is because it doesn't have road. Okay, you talk about use value, I know about use value. I sell real estate and been selling it 36 years. I sold it for 15,000 acres. There's no road. You can see the road, it's coming in right here. I'm sorry, oh, it's coming in, this turn, no, it's like it's supposed to be. Okay. Do you see that road? Like
I
that?
see that.
Okay, that road is one width of an automobile wide. It is a wagon. In the 69 years that I can remember, I've never seen a lot of them. I've never seen it maintained. The Penning family maintained it. It goes back as far as their residence here. It's a half a mile from K7 here. It's 5 miles from another road up this way. It's 2 miles from the road over there. And it's about a mile or so, 2 miles from the road here. It is basically a landlocked piece of property, no utilities, no road to it. They cannot take equipment on it, they have to pick on across their field. And that's it. Now, if we want to include this land, and I included it in the open area, that takes it up to 62.38 acres. So let's call this pasture ground, let's call this hay ground. Now, this one has ran a thing in the Axon Loeb, and this is here. Said the valuation went up from 10% to 110%. My valuation on this one went up 2,040%. 2,040%. It went from $155, which I might say that 6 years ago it was $84. So it raised almost 100% in the last 6 years. Now it's going to raise 2,000. It's going to raise up to the little taxation thing. I haven't told Mr. Penny yet, but he may not be interested. But the tax on it is going to be $3,345 on a piece of ground that my income off of it is $1,800. I'm not interested in putting it on the market. If I put it on the market and get this quote, fair market value, I'd have to have a road to it. I'd have to have utilities. Will there be someone, I talked to Mr. Jim this morning, and I didn't think I got any answers from him, by the way. But at any rate, he said, well, would you sell it for that? No, I wouldn't sell it for that. It's never for sale. It's going on for generations and generations. That's part of my trust. Okay? Never to be sold. It's been in the family for 119 years. I don't think I need to sell it. Can I afford to pay that? Yes. Am I going to? The answer is no. If we can't find an answer here, I will take it to the Kansas Supreme Court. If anyone wants to, we can make it a class action case. I'm waiting. Now, you got what was mandated to you by the government, right? That doesn't mean the government knows that a lot, because the country wouldn't be in the shape it is, but it did. So, if it were Atchison County to be selected, if Atchison County be mandated to do it, of all the counties in Kansas, I don't know how many are in Kansas? 105 counties. Well, we're pretty fortunate up here for my taxes to go up 2,048%. I don't know how many so lucky. Now, can I accept, you indicated that there was probably someone who would buy it. And I said, well, there might be one. You said, well, yeah, probably would sell for that one. I'm not interested in selling it. I'm not interested in paying that kind of tax on it. I don't think Mr. Penny will want to, you want to adjust the price up to around $4,000 or $5,000?
It'd be quite a raise.
Okay. Well, you know, if you tell me that, then I'll sit down. You know, or anybody else. You guys looking for some grassland? Okay, that's the legal part. I have all these figures. For your information, that 17.2 of it is pasture, 26.6% of it's agriculture, and 61.2% of it is wasteland. Look at these. They can make a hell of a buy. Do you have some questions?
What's your question?
No, I thought, now you tell me what question you might ask of me, and I give you an answer.
What you highlighted is the devil that we've got in the classification
Then let's
system.
make some classification changes.
That takes a amendment to the Constitution.
We can wait.
Okay. There's, land devoted to agriculture is a very specific way of valuing property, you know that. We don't worry about market value, we've never, no relationship between the one.
You talked about market value on that.
Market value pertains to other classification, or to residential, or to commercial, but not to land devoted to agriculture, you know that.
Then break it down. I think what you can do for me here, you can call all of it agriculture, because my agriculture, by the way, it went up from $10.35 an acre to $12.80 an acre. And this comes in at it's about $20.50 an acre for nothing, for no return on my investment. Now,
If he runs one cow or a goat on there, don't that make it agricultural?
Some kind of an agricultural endeavor on there would be, would make it,
letting goats?
We got cows on it.
It can be used for recreational purposes, but,
It's not recreational.
but.
So as long, the comment that you just made, was as long as there's livestock on it, it can't change. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, then you gotta back up, because that's agricultural. I mean, the
If you put livestock on it, it would be grass, wouldn't it?
Huh?
It would be some kind of a feed of some kind to those animals, right? It wouldn't be waste anymore.
Not the entire track. You couldn't, like I tried to explain to you down there that day, part of the track is up where it's cleared. Besides that, we keep talking about the forestry and different ones. If you went down there and I tried to clear that timber, took out a bunch of that timber, I would have the forestry department down there all over me, saying, we'll eliminate you from all the government programs. I mean, there's guidelines there. So, I mean, you're just backing one against the other here, is what I'm saying. But the cattle are on, and right up above there, the fences are right above that. They're not on that slope. The cattle never would go down there on that slope. And besides that, like I said, that township road, that river road runs right through it, and then you drop off another 100 feet or better, straight down. So, I mean, what would you use it for? I mean, you can't, like I said, if you go cutting that timber off, somebody's gonna be out there and they're just gonna be hot. And there'll be some problems created there.
Let me share with you the statutory definition of land devoted to agriculture. Shall mean and include land regardless of whether it's located in an unincorporated area of the county or within a corporate city limits, which is devoted to the production of plants, animals, horticultural products, including but not limited to forages, grains, breed crops, dairy animals, dairy products, poultry products, vegetables, nursery, floral, ornamental, greenhouse products. That's the laundry list that's in the statute. Land devoted to agriculture shall not include those lands which are used for recreational purposes, residential acreages, rural home sites, farm home sites, and yard plots whose primary function is residential or recreational purposes, even though such properties may produce or maintain some of those plants or animals listed in the foregoing list. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Mike Penny, and on Mr. Ernzen's ground, we run cattle over the entire place. So it looks to me like it would be ag use and not other, because there's grass between the trees and the cows eat the grass. And another thing, I've got a tract of land which is 55 acres, and there's 20 acres of farm ground on it. And 6 months of the year, I have no cattle on it, but the other 6 months after the crops are out, I run cattle on it. So wouldn't that make that ag use, running through the trees, eating the grass, growing between the trees?
Yeah, it'd be my opinion that it would. Have you conveyed that to the county appraiser?
No, I haven't had it.
Yeah. I think with those kind of cases, if you've got those, I would certainly let the county appraiser know that, because that's certainly doable.
Mr. West, you had your hand up for a little while.
My name's Mick West. I've got a couple of questions. I guess my first question is this: do you three commissioners have the final say on what happens to the state of Kansas? I'm not talking about Lampe, I'm talking about you guys or the state.
To the state.
So no matter what happens here today, we're wasting our time. We need to be talking to that man right back there. Because you guys have no decision, you're just providing a room for us to be in today.
Well, I think if you're talking
I
about.
mean, in this, we may be answering some questions, but if we want to get this done, we need to go to the state legislature, and there's one standing right back there that says this man's going to answer questions, but he's not going to solve anything. If the state's pulling Mr. Lampe's strings and you guys can't pull for us, we're wasting our time here today, guys. I'm just telling you now, we can sit here all afternoon, but if we've got to fight with the state, this is the wrong place to do it. Because if you guys could do it, then you're the ones we need to have our fight with. But if you can't control Mr. Lampe, and the state's controlling Mr. Lampe, and that's what it sounds like after we've been here for a little bit, if you could say, no, we're not going to change the valuation, and it's on your shoulders, then we need to be here, but we're wasting our time, guys, because we're just dancing with the devil here today. We need to be with the state.
I don't know if you're necessarily wasting your time, because I think that, we're giving them some.
All he's going to do is answer questions, but, well, then let me ask him this question. If we take Mr. Urban's ground and you change it, and you say that it's now agricultural, you're going to reevaluate it anyway, because now it's worth more because he's using it for a productive purpose of Mr. Penning's ground? Is that a catch-22? Is that one of those deals where we think we're going to be better off, but you're going to do it to him anyway?
Well, if it falls under the agriculture use categories, and go back to that area.
But I'm talking about dollars per acre. I don't care about the category. I want to know what that means, that the dollars, if they changed his, like they're going to change most of it, and it's going to go from 10 to 1,100, are you going to take it from 1,100 back down to 100 or something?
Most of our grassland in this area is about $53 an acre.
So anybody in here that's got cattle or livestock of any kind on their ground is suddenly going to go from that 1,100 back down to about $50. Is that what you're telling me? You're telling me in this, you're telling me this in an open meeting?
If it's fenced and cattle's running on it, then it's agriculture use.
Well, the reason I came today was to see if the state's running this, because the more I looked, and I've been investigating before I came, I was going to be mad at the county commissioners if they allowed this to happen. Looks to me like the state's one we need to be mad at, guys. If we're going to have a problem, it's going to be with the state. And we need to have people like Mr. Henry fighting our fight for us. There's a man right back there, as far as I'm concerned, fighting some of the best fights we have fought in Atchison County. So those are the people we need to be talking to. And unfortunately, this is just a meeting today that's really not going to do us much good unless you're willing to go talk to Mr. Lampe on your own and have him reevaluate your property into agricultural use.
And if there's areas that's not qualified for agriculture use, if it's to the point that maybe the accessibility or whatever factors, I do have the right to adjust the market value on that ground too. If you just can't get to it, I mean, then it's not going to be, then it's only worth whoever may live next to it, and that's it, your limited market.
So then we have to rely on your common sense to make that happen.
I hope so.
And fairness, hopefully.
I try.
I know several people are answering. I'm going to try to get in the order I saw them. Gentleman in the back, you're okay? You had a question, and I know I saw you.
You was talking about grassland that's usually at $53.
A lot of it is. It
Okay,
varies
okay.
anywhere from 10 to about 110.
Okay.
Something in that range.
So would there be a difference between grassland that could be grazed 7, 8 months a year and timberland that could be grazed for say, acorns and stuff like that for a month, not a year? Would that be a difference in evaluation for agricultural use?
You're talking about nut trees?
Your timber that you're grazing.
Yeah.
It's not grassland,
Okay.
and you can't, and it's only good for them to eat off of, a month, 2 months out of the year.
but the
But you still want fence around it, you still want the cows to go in it. Is there a difference between the grassland at $53 or whatever you know, average, and this timber that you're grazing, that you can't use that?
Under the ag classification, I only have irrigated, non-irrigated cropland, native grass, and tame grass. It has to go under one of those 4 categories for it to be counted as, it may not be labeled correctly, but to get it there. A lot of those are not planted, so it
But
can go
I'm
under native.
not talking about the label, I'm talking about the valuation, how much,
If I get under one of those labels, I can change the valuation.
and would there be a difference in the valuation between grassland and timberland that you're grazing for a month out of the year, or?
I think in most instances, the tame grassland value is very near the native grass. Is it
Pretty much the same here, yeah.
Then it's the same as native grassland. Tame grassland, which is improved pastures, is the same as native grassland here.
But he's saying he can adjust it, that's what
Yeah.
I wanna know about the adjustment. Did you look at the land, of grassland that you're grazing 8 months out of the year, not whatever you're grazing it, would you look at that the same, in your evaluation, would you look at that the same as timberland that you're grazing?
It's based on the soils classification. Whatever soils are on each one of the properties, they may not have the same soils, so it would be based on the different soils. If they had exactly the same soils, then they would have the exact same value. The soils basis, the classification that we look at is based on soils maps from NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't
I
think
think
you
your
understand
answer's
what
yes.
I'm saying.
Okay, no, it doesn't matter how many days you put the livestock on it, if that's, in other words.
So if the land's run with livestock, you're gonna look at the same.
I'm gonna look at that as probably native or tame grass.
Depending on the soil, underlying there.
Why was not all of the counties fall under the same guideline at the same time? Was that a legislative thing?
No.
Okay. Why were we so fortunate to be selected?
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
Can I answer that for you? You think about this, it's logical. If they jam the whole state at one time, the whole state's gonna go after the state. If they do you one county at a time, you're gonna stand by yourselves and you'll never organize and go chase them down. It's real logical on their part to do that. It's just that simple. That's why they go one bite at a time.
But with the legislative, would that be fair that if everything west of here, something about Manhattan has no vegetation, and that it's open country, and here, because of the fact that we got the Missouri River that runs down through us, and Stranger Creek, is that we're fortunate enough that we're gonna have to pick up more than our fair share of the tab for the state of Kansas. I don't think it's you guys' fault. I think you were given just part of a recipe to the cake. That when you're building something, it takes more than one thing. There's a collage of things that should come together, and they should come together fair. I think it's being unfair to the eastern half of Atchison County. You go out around Shannon, I don't think there's anybody here from Shannon today, because it doesn't affect them. You go on out further west, you go out around Manhattan, you're not gonna have any problem, because they don't have any what we call wasteland. This is wasteland. Wasteland, from what I was of the impression of, it fell under this category, that you had been able to take an agricultural piece of equipment into it. You cannot on mine. It was that it had to be a certain canopy. Mine's got all the canopy you need. It has to be a certain elevation drop, a certain percent incline. Well, mine's got the percent incline. I don't know that nobody can tell me how I can generate that much income off of this property. If I sold rattlesnakes and copperheads, I probably could. But they're not a big market for them. Fact of the matter, I even think that the appraiser should come out and look at mine in July, in August. be a pretty good time to look it over. And I'll meet you all there, anybody wants to come out, anybody, we'll go there and we'll look at it. That's not something.
Mr. Toll had a question, good patient.
I'm John Tull, and I got a property north of Charlie Purdue. I got a property that you can't even walk up the hills on, there's nothing but rocks and trees up them. If you can walk up the hills, come on down. In Kansas, Atchison County's got the highest taxes all around, and now they want to gouge you with some more taxes. That's my big beef. Every time they run into a little problem, they say, well, we'll just tax the man on the farm here and give some more money and do whatever we need to do. That's my beef. That's answers to all their questions. Tax the poor people some more, so you can tax them so far so they can't pay their taxes, so they come down and take your farm. That's what it boils down to. I've said enough.
Okay, thank you. We do have Representative Henry. Jerry's been patient back there. I think you wanted to intercede or had a couple things to ask or say.
I want to just go back to the May 15th issue. Mr. Ham?
Correct.
Yes. And I talked to you last week. Yes. Jerry Henry, the state representative. I called you last week, and we talked about this a little bit. Did I hear you right saying that you're now going, between now and May 15th, kind of bring some appraisers to Topeka and from some of these other counties that you've mentioned now and discuss this issue? Did you say that? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, I'm wondering why, and I'm just asking a question now, I mean, I probably should know this answer. Why, so there really isn't no standards have been put in place as to statewide? I mean, why are certain counties doing this and some haven't? You'd think you'd bring the appraisers together and say, from a statewide objective, to say, here's how we're going to do it, and here's the jump date from the, So I'm just curious as what can be done between May 15th in the way of legislatively, or for the governor, or for Nick Jordan, or, I mean, what is the issue here of what you're going to discuss between now and May 15th? What are you going to discuss with the appraisers, and what information do you need from landowners and from legislators?
Those are all good questions. Let's see if we can figure those out. We've been this way, this has been this way since 1989. Why has this come about right now? I don't know, other than the fact that we've got a court case out of Sumner County that allowed them to, they said, well, they designated this as other, and the court agreed that was the case. Now, does the legislator do they need to respond to this court case? That's sometimes some of the things would happen. I don't think we can wait that long, and I don't think, to be quite honest, anybody in this room, as an old farmer, I can tell you, you do not want to open up our statute on agricultural land valuation in the state of Kansas. You guys are outnumbered. The rules are way outnumbered by the ordinance, so there's no way you guys would want to do that. So what we're considering to do is talk to the county appraisers and the director will be involved in this, to see what is a reasonable way of going forward here for this kind of a thing. If in fact we want to continue down this road and see what this other what we want to do about this is ties to the Sumner County cases, or maybe we want to do something different. We have an old directive that talks about this in our 99, it was about 1999. The directive is 99-38, and it talks about the classification of land in Kansas. And it may be we need to go back and revisit that a little bit, is what I'm thinking. And maybe update that directive perhaps, and kind of go that direction. I don't think there's anything we want to do legislatively. Nick's not going to get involved in it. But I think it's up to the director to kind of reevaluate where we want to go on that particular directive that we have out there right now. I think that's the course we're on, unless somebody says different.
Okay. So a letter to the director
is, you're going to go back and discuss with the director next 2 or 3 steps, is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Are those 2 or 3 steps, then, will those be available to the public to know what you're going to do?
If we do a directive, and that we could probably do this on a kind of a memo to the county appraisers if we think there needs to be a change in direction. That would be the quickest form. But if we do have to adjust that directive, you always have to have a hearing with those directives as well. So yes, there's a process for those kinds of things, so it's open.
So how soon will you talk to the director?
I'll be back in there tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, gentleman over here.
I think the reason why we're here today is.
Mr. Leon, hold on, we're trying to get through everybody, but he had his hand up.
Yeah, Dave Ferguson, Wilbur and Shirley Ferguson Trust. I was going to ask that if I have 160 acres pasture, we run cattle on it. Part of it's wooded. The county figures that 99 acres of that 160 is other. Should it be in the other category, category 6, or should it stay in the agricultural use category?
I'm moving that over to grass area on yours. I think you were interested in it.
Well, I think I like your response to my brother Wilbur on this, in that
You haven't seen it then?
No, my brother.
Okay, then I want to change it to the ones that came in.
My brother saw you on this property.
Okay, then that's
This
right.
property has saw you, I haven't.
Okay.
Okay, according to agricultural then, the term waste is a valid designation, right?
But you're using the trees to run the cattle through, right?
If they can get anything off of wasteland, yeah. It's not all waste, because they take shelter in it, in inclement weather. They don't die of heat stroke like they do out in western Kansas, because they're in those trees. And you can go anywhere in those trees and you can find where the cattle have been, because they leave a trail of leaf. But if at 99 acres is waste under agricultural, or I believe wasteland is taxed at $10 an acre per land use scale. Is that correct?
I would more lean toward that, since you're using it for the cattle purposes of having a value. I would go with the grass, whatever grass soil type it is. And it would be more to be in about $53 or thereabouts.
$10 sounds better.
I'm sure it does.
And so it is waste.
Well, I think that's one of the
Under
things
the
that-
agricultural definition, what is waste?
There really isn't anything in statute. We've come out and we've identified waste. I can tell you, it was one that was designated for non-productive land. Where I come from, it was when we had a saltwater spill and the soil was sterile for 10, 15 years, that area was always designated as waste because we knew it wasn't going to grow anything for a long time. That was legitimate waste in our area. That was on the crop ground. And generally, we wouldn't do that on pasture ground. It was generally just on crop ground, although we know it didn't grow anything. And so what is legitimate waste, as you say? Well, it would be whatever's non-productive land. And if we look at pasture and range land, if we talk about waste ground in there, most of that, in my experience, it's just because we got a bunch of trees there is not necessarily waste ground. What is that? That's kind of typical to the ecosystem in that area, is it not? And so that's really not waste, as we determine what non-productive land might be.
Well, the reason why I mentioned it as waste is because the notes my brother took was that the classification for our 160 acres, of which 99 acres were called wasteland woodland.
And I couldn't find anything about woodland in any of the statutes.
Yeah, there isn't anything like that. In Kansas, we don't have, some of the states have some kind of a woodland, if you will, that they designated some of their ground to. Kansas, we've never done that. It's not really anything we've ever contemplated in statute or anywhere, and so, who knows, that, maybe there's a place for that, but I don't know where we would stick it in at right now. But that's where
Hopefully
we're
not
doing,
other.
that's where we're doing it right now. Go ahead.
Hopefully not other. Keep it in agriculture.
We have been encouraging the counties, ever since we went through the remapping program here some years ago, we've been encouraging counties to take a hard look at their waste, because many of the counties were overusing that particular group of properties. And so we've asked them to take a hard look at that and get rid of some of that waste that really is non-productive.
Thank you.
Mr. Lance?
Then Mr. Cummings?
Dave Lane, property off behind Lockwood's. The question Jerry asked and you responded, it was why this is all a big concern. I think the reason everybody in this room is because their land went from $10 an acre to $1,100 an acre. I think that's what got everybody's attention. Am I right?
Right. That's a classification issue.
No, it's still other.
Market value, 30%, that's the problem.
Right, 30% of $10, whatever the value is versus 1,100, I think is what got to everybody.
Yes.
My question, and I think Jerry was kind of, is the rest of the counties around us, it wasn't a state mandate that the county appraisers do what Jim did? He did this on his own, and the rest of the counties didn't follow what they were supposed to do? Brown County, Leavenworth County?
That is a appraiser's duty, if you will, classification issue, yes.
So Jim gets a start and the rest of them are going to be reprimanded for not doing it?
Well, we haven't gone that far, no.
Looks like I'm the one getting yelled at. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, from a big picture, it looks like to me that you ought to be looking for a bonus.
Right.
Because these guys just you found them a whole lot of money they didn't know they had in their budget. I mean, basically, you found them money they didn't know was there.
I just read the court orders and did what I.
I understand, but I'm just saying, they're ended up with a lot more money to work with because of what you've done. And it's legal.
For the record, it's not our money, it's the citizens and taxpayers' dollars.
But you get to spend it. For us.
We're not, okay, we're going to next question. PJ.
PJ Cummings, is the other counties that joined us, Donald from the Leavenworth County, having the same problem?
Not that I know of.
As far as I know, no.
They haven't been valued like this county has?
As far as I know, my opinion is that they haven't, they're not using other in the same way that Jim is using it currently, from what I understand about it.
Thank you.
How does this help us? How is this raising our taxes? How is that helping us? These people make a living off their farm, been in the family for a long time, and you come along and you're gonna raise taxes up like you were talking. How does that benefit us?
No, I didn't have much of a part in this, but I'm just trying to explain how things work in Kansas.
We're trying to get to everybody, please be patient with us. Mr. Perdue had something real
Okay.
real quick.
First of all, Mr. Ham brought back, this took place in 1989, right?
Right.
Okay.
That's
Now,
when we
I guess my first question is, then, if that took place in 1989, what do you got, a mandate time on this?
a mandate.
Is there a mandate to put this into effect?
No?
Okay, all right. Now, the next question is, from our conversation here today, Mr. Lampy does not work for the county commissioners, or doesn't work for the county. He's working under your supervision, apparently. Anyway, that's the words that you've been putting out here, that he is under your supervision. Is that correct?
He's appointed by the county commissioners, and and of course, the Director of Property Evaluation oversees the entire appraisal of the Kansas as well. So, qualified to be a county appraiser based on the recommendations and the procedures of the Director of Property Evaluation, yes.
Okay. So then, if that's the case, and you just went over some of it a minute ago, when there was another question, because we own land in Leavenworth County, we own land in Donovan County, all adjoins this. Why then there hasn't been instructions, apparently from the director, you keep referring to a director.
Right.
Okay. Has the director put directives out to the different appraisers throughout the counties? There's 105 counties. You named off 4, I believe, on the south side, or on the south end of the state.
South Central.
Okay, South Central. There's 4. Now, all at once, Tearsats, and there's 5. Now, has the director put directives out to all other appraisers in the state?
No.
Can I answer one of the reasons this has happened more recently? First of all, this waste thing was here when I came here. We actually did not have the mapping up to the point of actually being able to review soils the way they should be. And we actually weren't able, we weren't able to do a complete analysis of our whole county until we got maps on the computer system and a GIS system. We reviewed every parcel in 2012. But the first time this county has been able to do it, a complete review. And at that time, when we did that, I went through and make sure that everything was following by what I thought the statute required. And this is one of the ones I picked up, this and with the, back up with the court orders. But we switched a lot of ground from grass to crop that we didn't know about. In fact, I've had some people tell me it's been crop for a long time. We didn't know about it. So we now have the capability of seeing it, and the new aerials are much, much better than they used to be. So we made a complete blanket correction of everything that we could last year, and that's why this all hit this year.
Okay. Well, now you're going back to aerials, and this morning I made a trip out to Effingham to the Department of Agriculture, the Farm Service Agency, and this is a aerial photo of the farm that I'm talking about. Take the wedge part that's, well, here, I'll show you. Now, you tell me how you can tell. Now, when we were working on the buildings and everything down there, we've had appraisers on the property all the time. They're always measuring the buildings and everything like that. That's fine and good. Now, you tell me how you can tell by that aerial photo right there. That's nothing but a 200-foot slope. But right here, there's the railroad tracks that run along here. Here's the bottom. If you see the little white strip through there, that's the road, the township, what they call the River Road. From there up, which will be over a block, and down here, if you used to alternate, go over about a block and a half, you're talking about approximately 200, 250 feet of elevation difference. Now, you explain to me how you can tell that. And I know you haven't looked at the properties.
Well, again, what we were doing is looking at the amount of area that wasn't being for agricultural purposes, and that wasn't falling under that category. So that's how we looked at it.
But you should make visual signs rather than looking at a map. Rather than just looking at an aerial photo, come down and make visual, and I'm sure every one of these, I know a lot of these people in here, the property we're talking about, you've got the same situation. I mean, there's so much of it you couldn't walk if you had to.
You know, this USDA, that's out of Effingham, right? Okay, when I came up here, we were able to talk back and forth to that department. Under this Privacy Act or something, the federal government said they can't give this office any of that information. When I came up here, we were able to share. We gave them all your property lines. They told me that farmers had to come down here to the register of deeds to prove they own something. We gave them the ownership record, so they didn't have to tell you guys to come down here. We want to cooperate with them, and they need to improve their terminology back and forth with us, but we have to work completely independent of this company because of that, and I don't think that's right.
Well, at the same time, that may be true. That may be true, but all of us, or a majority of us that's sitting in this room, that are farmers and everything, we're under the soil conservation, the Farm Services Program. We have guidelines that we must meet too.
I understand.
Okay, so we can't go changing a lot of this. We've got degrees of slopes, grass, and stuff like that. You can't go changing this stuff. If we do, we're all in trouble. And I don't think there's one of us in here that would care to get in trouble with that.
We do have some elevation in our system.
So, but anyway.
You're more than welcome to come down and look. So.
Okay.
Mr. Bouldridge is in the back with the next.
I want to bring up, my name's Adrian Bouldridge, and I want to bring up a little, I guess, we might look at it as a little different issue. I have a piece of property, and I guess the way I look at it, I'm kind of caught between a hawk and a buzzard. And what I mean by that, I have practically 130 acres, and the appraisal value went up quite a bit higher than it was. And I was told by Mr. Memphy, because my appraisal value went up higher than what it was, is because of land that sold from the east, land that sold from the south, land that sold from the west, and land that sold from the north. And they looked at it from a market value, which my land has always been valued as land use value. And I don't know whether I can pay taxes from land use to market value. There's quite a bit of difference, and I can't find anything in the statute that says you should do appraise land that way.
And
if there's a statute of limitation that says that the appraisers can do that, I haven't been able to find it.
who are you directing the question to, Mr. Bouldridge? Jim?
Whoever can answer it. I mean, if Mr. Lamptey or Jim or whoever can answer it, would be, welcome to listen to any one of them.
What did the value change to? Do you have your market value there?
I don't have it with me at the present time, but I was just looking at the statute of limitation, and I cannot find any reason why that my property should be valued under market value rather than land use value. I bought it for land use value. That's what I'm using it for. There is there's no building. There's nothing on it. That's all it is.
Now, you were at the other meeting. Did you appeal this property?
Yes, I did. I don't know whether we looked at it that closely or not.
I'd have to go back. I don't have it to memory. I'd have to go back down and look.
Okay. But I guess I still haven't got the question answered.
you know, from market value to land use value,
Well,
how much of a difference are we talking about?
How many acres do you have?
Approximately 130, maybe 135 acres.
How much is agriculture use? How much is grass and crop? Any?
I think probably about 79 or 80 some odd acres is crop usage. The rest of it is pasture, or considered pasture land according to the SDS office.
Like I said, I'd have to go back down and look, to be honest with you.
Mr. Bell.
You're next.
I didn't know my name, I don't know what it is.
Maybe it's Dave.
I think my name is different.
I'm Ron Bell. Last Monday at the meeting, I asked about a notification that Charlie had told me that he had received in the mail. Jim said he did not send any out. I have one from Carl Anderson in Muskota that's dated May 24th of 2012, and also from John and Linda Funk, who are here today. They received theirs July 24th of 2012. Now, I didn't receive any, and no one here last Monday received one. So where is fair and equalization?
What's the letter on? What's the letter on?
The parcel of land that you're gonna change.
Does it say I'm changing to other, or what?
It says they're reclassifying it.
Okay. And have they been into my office before that time?
I don't know. The point is, Jim, I did not get one. Neither did 90% of these people that are here.
There had to be something that came up in my office to generate that. Otherwise, no, we didn't send out blanket letters.
It's not equal then. It's totally not fair. Like I told you last week, if I had notification in July, I would have had a time to do something. Make a plan of action.
Well, that's why we have the valuation notices sent
I
out.
bought my property 18 years ago to keep as a piece of woodland, because I didn't want somebody tearing it up. And now you're gonna penalize me for that, because I'm trying to conserve it the way the good Lord left it. Tripling my taxes is not the answer. I talked to the Department of Natural Resources. They are very, very concerned with this measure, because they're afraid the bulldozers are gonna come out, the aerial planes are gonna come out, they're gonna start spraying, throwing grass with the airplane. It happens every day. And I think it's the wrong move.
I asked a question earlier, and now it sounds like the answer. Who pulls the strings and says vote to Jim Lampe? You guys? You guys have final say, or is it the state? That was the question I asked earlier.
Well, the state, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the state gives direction or values.
That's not my question. My question is this.
He's an employee of ASCA, he's an employee of
So
ASCA.
if you guys say, whoa, we're gonna put a moratorium on this for a year, you have the power to do that?
No.
Then how come all the rest of the, not to interrupt, but if that's the case, then why haven't all the rest of the counties that are in this situation jumped on it? If it's so beneficial to them?
I don't know that.
Is it a possibility that the county commissioners have said no?
No, I don't think so. Now, he's a professional, he has professional licensures, professional education, and his professional judgment trumps the judgment of the board. So the Board of County Commissioners can hire and fire, but they cannot direct his professional judgment.
That's not my question. That's not the direction I'm going. If they're gonna have a meeting sometime in the future, as Mr. Henry says, and they're gonna make those decisions, then why do we have to make this all happen by May? Why can't they hold that back? Because it appears to me, the information that we've received from this man, they haven't made a logical decision at this point, because they're gonna bring all the appraisers in now, in the future, not today, not in the past, and make that decision. Why don't they have the power in this county until that's done and finished to say, we're gonna hold this process up? Do they have the right to do that?
I don't think they do.
That's sad. I can just tell you this, there has to be some kind of checks and balances with every office in this county, in this city, in this state, in this country. If we let Mr. Lampe run roughshod over this county, we won't have a chance. And I'm not saying Jim is not being fair, but we can already see that we have not had letters sent timely enough to give people to have an opportunity to come in. Whose fault is that? I don't know. That's a direct example of what's going on here. And until we address that, I think the commissioners should pull this back and let them have their state meeting and decide what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't think they can, I don't really want to get off on a tangent, but, there aren't 3 branches of government, there are 4 branches of government. There is, in addition to the executive branch, there is an administrative branch of government that you're not gonna find in the Constitution, but it's been written in by the U.S. Supreme Court. You know, I agree with what you're saying, but when this question comes up in the U.S. Supreme Court, my position, your position loses 8-1 or 7-2, depending on.
Well, what you are saying, that Mr. Lampy could logically say, well, then I'll hold off a little bit, since no other county appraiser's done it. He can make that decision
He
himself.
definitely has some professional judgment here, and but how he's going to use his judgment, you have to ask him.
Mr. Lutz, Mr. Penning, and Mr. Roberts. Mr. Lutz?
We've been talking about this classification for some time here, for about the last 45 minutes. The classification for the ag land is 30%. If you made improvements, it's still classified as ag land, but it goes to 25% because you made some improvements. The other classification is still at 30%. The classification, like you said, has been in effect since '89, am I correct? Okay, so it's not really the classification that is hurting us. It's the value of the land that percentage is based upon. Agriculture is $300 some odd an acre, is that correct? Or you said 54 at another time tonight, Mr. Lampy?
Well, on grass, it varies from $10 to $110 or something like that, and.
So let's use $100 for instance. So the ag land is 30% taxed on the value of that land of $100, correct? So that'd be $30 per acre, am I correct? Okay. But yet, if it's classified as other, now we've raised that value from $100, well, let's use the $10 that was in the paper. From $10 to now $1,100. Now we got 30% for other classification, which is the same as ag, 30%, unless you make improvements. And now we're using 30% of that $1,100 per acre. That's what's made this increase so much and so fast. We have taken the value of that land from $10, the Globe said, to now to $111 per acre. That's what has increased these taxes so much, and I'll tell you what, my pocket can't stand that much. If that is too much of an increase too quickly, like I mentioned at the last meeting on Monday. So the value that's being used for ag, that is used for crops and other things, the value for other has raised so high, and that's what is unfair. We need to get that value for other land to be based on the same as the rest of the owned land. And then we would have some taxes that would be in line. Am I correct? And well, I do want to make a correction on what the Globe said. It is not 100% increase. This is 11,000% increase. It was put in the computer, and I double-checked this several times. That is 11,000% increase. And I'd like to see that correction made in the paper.
It was.
At the front page. It was correct, what, classified?
It's corrections right on page 2, that's standard. And for the record, I did not figure that percentage.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just noticed it, and I want to check it to make sure that it was, if it was right or wrong, and it was wrong.
And it is.
11,000 is a big increase.
So it's been corrected, and so.
Mr. Bennett?
My question is, I did not file an appeal, and I was the one that mentioned that I got cattle running on the land. Now, can I get that changed before I go to pay my taxes? Can I change it, get it from other to ag use?
We still need to do the appeal process. We could do it verbally, but you need to call in to Debbie or Belinda downstairs, and I have left the capability of getting a hearing set up. I mean, I'll take phone calls to April 15th. So between now and April 15th, call her so she can get the paperwork set up so I can make any changes.
Okay, call her, and then I could talk directly to you, or does she set up a meeting?
She sets up a meeting with me, but if you want a phone hearing, just
Yeah, what's that number, just so in case people don't have.
Appraiser's office is 4,400, 367, 4,400.
So you have to call to set up an appeal by end of day on, next Monday, that'd be next Monday, it'd be 1 week from today.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And we had, we talked about it at the last meeting last week to extend that, because the original cutoff date for it was April 3rd. Yeah, so we had him extend it because there were a lot of questions surrounding this involved with that. But you have to call at least by end of day, next Monday, to file an appeal with that.
And we're scheduling those hearings in that week of the 15th. And the May date, the May 20th date is the date I have to get my decisions made, so that's what that's all about.
Mr. Wilburn, then Mr. Ernst, Mr. Wilburn, next.
I'm not really sure if my land's involved in this. How would I go about finding that out? I haven't seen anything on this in the mail. My house on the farm burned in the fall. I might not have.
Go to my office downstairs, I'll pull up your records and walk you through every one of your records, whatever number you have.
And where's your office located?
The basement of the courthouse is where the real estate site down there, they'll help you out.
I know what you're talking about, okay.
Mr. Ernst.
I was in your office for an hour and 10 minutes this morning. Do I need to come back? Because he says he's running cattle on it.
Your folders are already on my desk to make a decision on.
So I don't need to make an appeal then?
You already have made an appeal.
I think at this point, I hope everybody's clear, that there's two appeal processes, and you can't use both of them, but if you miss out on this one, you can still pay under protest, and then at that point, you can go back through the appeal process and possibly get a judgment and in favor, am I correct?
On the same protest, yeah.
Right, I think, yeah, but, so make sure you're clear, if you go through this appeal process, then you're done until next year. If you don't get in on a hearing at this point, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but then make sure that you pay under protest in December, and then you can still go through the appeal process, and you win your judgment, then you will get a favor. Am I correct?
That's correct, and at my hearing, whatever decision I make, you still have the right to take it to another level, so if you're happy with it, that's fine, and I hope that's the case, but if you're not, your appeal process can still be continued.
Representative Henry, Jerry, did you have, like, maybe you had something to add or question, or?
Well, I just hope they don't feel like this is a waste of time. We're gonna probably have some calls, and I think there'll be a few letters written, so, I mean, I just wanna make sure everybody understands that that's the next step. I plan to write a letter at least, and just a couple phone calls to find out some other answers. I'm not saying anybody said anything wrong here, I'm just gonna find some more issues about this. So please, I hope somebody doesn't believe that this was a waste of time, so.
Well, and also just make sure that, you know where our, I mean, if there is something that we as commissioners could do, I mean, hey, you're ready. On behalf, I mean, but I don't wanna overstep our bounds and do anything, you know.
I don't think it was, I know the comment was made earlier about being unproductive. I probably echo what Jerry said. I mean, because, we've got two people here with the state of Kansas that are listening, and I don't think it's one size fits all, and I think, obviously, there's different unique geography portions of the state, and we're definitely not the same as central or western Kansas, but, hopefully, I don't know if it's going to require another classification, or, obviously, it looks like you guys are looking into the evaluations, but I think it was good to bring this up. I mean, I think all of us have an interest in this. I think, frankly, a lot of us are kind of getting a lesson as far as the process, as far as who's who and what you can and can't do. So I do appreciate that. If there's no other comments, okay, one more comment.
I got one other question, one other statement that goes with this. Now, with Mick, when Mick was going back and forth about who's who, okay, supposedly Mr. Lampy is hired by the county commissioners, is that correct?
Yeah, appointed.
Okay, appointed. Now, we've got such a mix-up out here, or such a mess. I would like to ask you, as the county commissioners, to make an action to put this on hold, because what I was showing him with those maps and that property, I think the appraiser's office needs to come out and look at this property. And there's no way you can do this with this period of time. So I'm asking you to take and put a hold on this until he can at least come, and maybe he doesn't want, maybe not everybody wants him to come. That's fine. I'm speaking for quite a few of us here that I know that would like for him to come and look at this property and then tell us what he's telling us now. That's what I would like to see you as county commissioners do.
Yeah, when we're getting into statutes, we need to verify to make sure to see what we can't do in this case, because, you know, Jim as an appraiser is an extension of the state, so, you know, we hear your request. I think we need to.
But he's under your supervision. You've already made that comment. He's under your supervision.
He's an Ashley County employee.
Right.
The county commission appoints him. He goes off of directives and values based off of the state of Kansas, correct?
And the county's paying him, right?
Yeah.
Are you?
He's an Ashley County employee,
Okay.
that's correct. Yes. Yeah, we're dealing with the cards that are dealt, so, you know, please be patient with that.
You gotta worry what that other card's gonna be that's going to come.
I know. Yes. Mr. Wilbur?
And even if you cannot tell him to, you can ask him to, right?
That's correct.
And you can't
We can
fire,
always request.
and you have the power to fire him also. Yes or no? Can you guys fire him?
What's that? His contract.
Yeah.
After July 1, okay.
What was the answer to that question that he just asked you? You can fire him or you can't?
That would be, yeah, we could choose to, he has a contract, he has a contractual agreement, and so that ends as of July 1st, 2013. Good questions?
Dave?
How did you come up with $1,100 an acre for other?
I've got based on sales.
And how does that work in other counties within our county?
No, all my sales on ag is within our county lines.
And on other too?
Yeah, the other market value classification, yeah, I did that off of sales within our county, yes.
And that's come up to be $1,100 for wasteland,
For tree areas.
tree areas? Okay.
Did you find comps in this part of the county?
I haven't, no, I'll find it for you.
Yeah, Mr. Cobb?
Does it make a difference whether it has a road to it stuff?
Not so much so.
It's always there left.
I was one that did get a letter from Mr. Lampy on July 24th on one farm. Not the other farm, not the WLF, but on my own farm. I didn't think it was probably gonna be good when I got the letter, but I didn't do anything until I got the evaluation notice. That did catch my attention. And I did meet with Mr. Lampy, and he never let me know yet how things turned out with our meetings, so
We're still making decisions on, and this is one of the things, probably put it off for another week or so until we go up to, I'd like for the state to involve me with going up there and talking.
Well, I wish the state would put this off for a year or so. When they bring in all their appraisers, it'd be nice for them to bring them in, and you've got some idea of what your problems are gonna be, and give you a year or so to figure this classification or other out, because the wasteland doesn't always come up right. Anyway, I also have this memorandum to all county appraisers from Mark S. Beck. I don't even know if he's still around. He's not. And it was, to the county appraisers. It said, if in doubt, use your best judgment, keeping in mind uniformity within the county and across the county lines on determining this waste, is what it was. Thank you.
And, Mark Beck is who?
He used to be the director of property evaluation, he's deceased.
I think that's correct. So it's 90, wasn't that dated 1998?
June
Yeah.
30th, 1998.
Okay. Representative Henry had.
Just to follow, Mr. Lampion has to have some type of authority. I mean, he can't just go by the whims of what one or two county commissioners can do in the way of property decisions. It has to be uniform, and that's what we try to do. I mean, you want to make sure that your neighbor's property is the same as also property in Sumner, so. But Mr. Ham, my request is that hopefully when you have this discussion, that is in reverse too. I think what this crowd's asking, and I will be making some phone calls, is, I mean, the appraisers ought to get together and do a plan, and it should be fair and brought out in a fair way, all around, like all other type of issues are. I think that's how property is determined from the peak so it's fair from parcel to parcel and part of state to part of state. So when you only have 5 counties that are involved, I think there should be discussion on whether this should be not looked at from all counties involved. So I hope that comes up at that meeting and is discussed. So that would be my request. So, but Mr. Lampion does have to be fair and impartial and has to look at things other than from a political standpoint, but also having just 5 counties, especially when you're talking about the increases we're talking about, there's some fairness and representation that has to be considered when that meeting is discussed. Please.
Don't see any other comments?
I got one. The Corps of Engineers bought that property south of town for goo bucks, so that makes our property, we kick the price up on it because they give so much for that property down there. Does it make it worth more because the neighbor sold his property for twice as much you get for it? Is that what you're basing some of that on?
I don't think any of the sales I used was from the Corps. The federal government's not a good prospective buyer, I mean, from that standpoint, as far as market's
Well, they
concerned.
took our tax money and bought it.
Well, I understand that.
But there's been 2 other properties right next to
It was sold for more money than our farm ever thought about bringing. So,
Was that taken into account for the property?
the property
you raised?
next to us, west and north of us, brought more than,
Was that sold on the open market? I mean, that wasn't federal government, was it?
that was a realtor.
I looked at all sales.
I don't want to throw Mr. Lampion under the bus, but the problem I have, I've taken my commissioner hat off, and now I have land. I have land in Beverly County, I have land in Madison County. You made it sound like if we get it to $50 an acre, that's a good deal, which, that's better than 1,100. But I talked to Lemon County, and they're changing nothing. Their $10 wasteland with timber is still $10 wasteland with timber. That's where I have a problem. You know, we're not talking 6 counties away, we're talking about a competitive county. I think the county to the northwest is the same way, they didn't change their valuation. I think, like Mr. Henry said, we need to get the appraisers together, and if I could personally say, let's hold off a year, I'd be the first one to hold it in. It's kind of out of our power.
Mr. Bell.
I'd just like to leave this meeting and say I work for a utility, and I'll bet if any one of you, light bill went up 11,000%, tomorrow you'd be screaming.
Mine was 21.
We'll get too rough on them, I'm on that board as well.
Now, which hat you got on now?
it's something serious, this isn't gonna be taken lightly, so we need to probably, get some sort of action plan going. I think we definitely need to be talking with each other on this, because, number one, April 15th, I can't stress that enough, to get your appeals in. Yeah, you might wanna check, I think it's probably a simple call to see if you have your appeal in, Jim's office, and then, I think there's gonna be a lot of discussion probably going forward here in the next couple of weeks to see what we have, what our course of action would be, I would hope.
I got one question. I appealed mine to Jim, and he sent me my new appraisal, which I'm not satisfied with. So my only other alternative, I can't reappeal to you, can I, Jim?
No, you gotta go to the next level.
That's what I figured.
That last week, Mr. Wagner, you asked a question, kind of a loaded question. We didn't want to come out and say you're wasting your time to do this or do that, and we didn't want to voice what we said on somebody else's opinion. I know when you left, you was kind of aggravated us that we didn't give you an answer, but we couldn't say what somebody else was going to say.
I know what they're gonna tell me already. And you too.
Just a reminder, if you did not sign the sign-in sheet, Mr. Lance has it, if you did not sign it in, you need to sign that in, so we have it on record. Other than that.
Chairman, we appreciate your offer and this good discussion we've had today. We're going to certainly continue to take a look at what we're doing, and want you to know that, but thanks for sharing with the community here about what's going on in your county. So appreciate the opportunity to come here.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming down. Thank you. Well, thank everybody for remaining civil. I know it's kind of hard to keep your guard up for so long, but we really appreciate keeping civility in the county commission meeting. So, thank you for attending. You're welcome to finish out the rest of our meeting, and we will obviously you'll be hearing about this as we go forward here over the next couple of weeks through commission meeting or media as well. Thank you.
Goodbye.